Hi guys, welcome back. So today's discussion will be on the anatomy of brachial plexus, which is another important topic in our examination, and this is mainly for the MBBS students because this is the very basics of brachial plexus. Fine. Now coming to the introduction, as we all know, brachial plexus is a plexus or a group of nerves which start from the neck and supply the nerve supply to the upper limb. So brachial plexus supplies the upper limb. Second, where is it situated? The brachial plexus starts in the posterior triangle of the neck. Okay, so it is present in the posterior triangle of the neck, as we see here. This yellow structure is the brachial plexus and it is present in the posterior triangle of the neck. So after it originates, it comes out between two muscles. What are those muscles? As we see here, this muscle in the front is the scalenus anterior and this muscle which is behind is the scalenus medius. Okay, so the brachial plexus starts in the posterior triangle, comes out between the scalenus anterior in the front and scalenus medius in the back. Now third point, the brachial plexus is accompanied by one artery. This red structure is nothing but the subclavian artery. So introduction again, it supplies the nerve supply to the upper limb. It is present in the posterior triangle of the neck. It comes out between the scalenus anterior and scalenus medius and it is accompanied by the subclavian artery. So this is in introduction. Now coming to the parts of the brachial plexus, there are 5 parts of brachial plexus. Instead of mugging it up, you can imagine it with some object which is easier for you. I usually imagine it with this object of tree. Now coming to the parts of tree, this part, as we all know, is the root. This part of the tree is called trunk. Now these parts of the tree, you remember the word divisions and chords. And finally, all these are the branches. So this is the only thing which you have to remember, this nomenclature, division and chord. Okay, so the root, the trunk, the division and chord, and finally the branches. Now coming to the parts of the brachial plexus. So this is the brachial plexus here and this is the tree parts which we saw in the previous slide. So instead of seeing this tree as an upright structure, we can rotate it as per this orientation of the brachial plexus. Fine. Now imagine the same tree in this way. Okay. Now, as we all know, this is the root. So this is the root, origin of the brachial plexus. This is the trunk. And similarly, next comes the trunk of the brachial plexus. As I told you, this part is the division and chord. So the next 2 parts of the brachial plexus are the division and chords. And finally, these are the branches. And this structure is the branches. So the brachial plexus starts from the neck until it reaches the shoulder. All these 5 parts will come, and once the branches originate, they enter into the upper limb. Okay. Now these are the 5 parts of the brachial plexus. Now everybody should know to draw the line diagram of brachial plexus. If you know to draw this, it is very easy to write both in your theory exam and you can answer it in your practical exam. As I told you, we have to divide it into these categories. Okay. First one is the root, second one is the trunk, third one is the division, fourth one is the chord, and fifth one is the branch. So these headings you should remember. Fine. Okay. Now what are the roots of brachial plexus? So it comes from the cervical spine, right? So C5, C6, C7, C8, T1. So 5, 6, 7, 8 and T1. So these are the roots of the brachial plexus. Okay. Now I'll draw the roots. I'll draw every part in an individual color so it is easier for you to understand. So this is C5 root, C6 root, C7 root, C8 root and T1 root. Okay. Fine. So these are the roots or the origin of the brachial plexus. Fine. Now trunks. Trunks we will draw it in a different color. Take for example pink color. Fine. Right. So C5 and C6 together form the upper trunk. Okay. Upper trunk. C8 and T1 join together to form the lower trunk. Understood? And C7 continues as the middle trunk. It's easier to remember. Upper trunk, middle trunk, lower trunk. The above two roots unite to form the upper trunk. C7 continues separately as the middle trunk. C8 and T1 unites to form the lower trunk. So these are the trunks. So next is divisions. Okay, division we'll draw it in a different color. See, blue for example. Okay, fine. Now every trunk divides into two divisions. Okay, one anterior division A. So every trunk divides into one division, that is anterior division, and every trunk divides into another division, that is posterior. So every trunk divides into two divisions, anterior and posterior. So there are three anterior divisions and three posterior divisions. So this is the division. Now next is the cord. We'll draw the cord in a different color. Okay, green. Fine. So next is the cord. Easiest thing to remember is all posterior divisions unite to form the posterior cord. Finish that first. The three posterior divisions all together unite to form posterior cord. Okay. Anterior division of the upper and middle trunk unite to form lateral cord. Lateral cord. Okay. Now the pending one division is the anterior division of the lower trunk, which continues as the medial cord. Okay. So cord is very simple. All posterior unite to form the posterior cord. Anterior divisions of the upper and middle form the lateral cord, and the anterior division of the lower trunk forms the medial cord. So what is this lateral, posterior and medial? Why it is named like that? It is because of this. Okay. As I told you, the brachial plexus comes along with the subclavian artery, which here it is called the axillary artery. So when the cord is lateral to the axillary artery, it is called lateral cord. When the cord is situated medial to the axillary artery, it is called the medial cord. When the cord is situated behind the axillary artery, it is called posterior cord. That is why these are named as lateral cord, posterior cord and medial cord, based upon its relationship with the axillary artery. Okay, fine. So now this is the cord. Next comes the final part, that is branches. Branches you have to remember in the form of mnemonics. Now lateral cord branches, the mnemonic is branches, we will write it in a different color, red. Okay. So the branches of the lateral cord are L, L, M. Okay. So what is L, L, M? L is lateral pectoral nerve. L is lateral root of median nerve, and finally M is musculocutaneous nerve. Okay. So LLM, lateral pectoral nerve, lateral root of median nerve and musculocutaneous nerve. So this is for the lateral cord. For the posterior cord, the branches, the mnemonic is ultra, U-L-T-R-A. U is upper subscapular. L is lower subscapular. Fine. T is thoracodorsal. Okay, thoracodorsal. R is radial nerve. A is axillary nerve. Okay. So ultra, upper subscapular, lower subscapular, thoracodorsal, radial and axillary nerve. So these are the branches of the posterior cord. Now what are the branches of the medial cord? M, U. 4 M and 1 U. The first M is medial cutaneous nerve of arm. Okay. Second one, medial cutaneous nerve of forearm. Third M, medial root of median nerve. Okay. Fourth M is medial pectoral nerve and U is ulnar nerve. So this is a bit difficult, but once you remember it with these mnemonics, it is easier. So the branches of lateral cord is LLM, lateral pectoral nerve, lateral root of median nerve and musculocutaneous nerve. Posterior is ultra, upper subscapular, lower subscapular, thoracodorsal, radial, axillary nerve. And medial cord is MMMMU, medial cutaneous nerve of arm, medial cutaneous nerve of forearm, medial pectoral nerve, medial root of median nerve and finally the ulnar nerve. So these are the branches. Okay. There are some branches which arise from the root level also. C5 is the dorsal scapular nerve. Okay, from C5. Then C5, C6 and C7 together form the nerve to serratus anterior muscle, which is otherwise called long thoracic nerve of Bell. Okay, and from the trunk level, two branches are there in the upper trunk. From the upper trunk, the first branch is nerve to subclavius. Okay, nerve to subclavius, and another branch is suprascapular nerve. From the upper trunk, two branches, nerve to subclavius and nerve, that is suprascapular nerve. So this point where C5, C6 nerve root gives branches to the nerve to subclavius and suprascapular nerve, this point is called Erb's point. When injury occurs here, it will result in Erb's palsy. Okay, so it will look a bit confusing, but once you draw this line diagram once or twice, it will be easier for you to remember. Fine. Now, as a recap again, so this is the clavicle, this is the cervical spine, this muscle here is the scalenus anterior, this muscle is the scalenus medius. So the brachial plexus originates from the roots of C5, 6, 7, 8 and T1, and it comes between the scalenus anterior and scalenus medius along with this subclavian artery. So these roots, the C5 and C6 root form the upper trunk, C7 continues as the middle trunk, C8 and T1 forms the lower trunk. So each trunk divides into anterior and posterior divisions. All posterior divisions unite to form the posterior cord because it is posterior to the axillary artery. The anterior division of the upper and middle trunk forms the lateral cord, and the anterior division of the lower trunk continues as the medial cord, and the branches from the lateral cord are LLM. Branches from the posterior cord are ultra, and branches from the medial cord are 4M and 1U. So these branches you should know, and branches from the root level, C5 gives dorsal scapular nerve, C5, C6, C7 together forms nerve to serratus anterior, and from the upper trunk there is nerve to subclavius and suprascapular nerve. Okay, so this is in short about the brachial plexus anatomy. So as I told you, this is the clavicle. The roots and the trunks are supraclavicular or above the clavicle. The cords and the branches are below the clavicle or infraclavicular, and these divisions are exactly behind the clavicle. So supraclavicular are the roots and the trunks, divisions come behind the clavicle, cords and branches comes infraclavicular. Okay, so this is the anatomy of the brachial plexus. Hope you understood the subject well, and if you have any doubts, please mention it in the comment box so that I will clarify those doubts. Hope to see you soon with my next discussion. Thank you all. Till then, bye guys.